Hi. Okay. So we're going to talk about um, Multisig. I'm Stepan. I'm CEO and co-founder of Squads. I think you know what we're doing, but we're going to run through it anyway, and then talk about what we're planning to do in the future. Okay. So, quick background: Multisig is a multi-signature wallet, which is a software wallet that requires multiple signatures to send a transaction. At Squads, we like to call it a team-level consensus layer, which is essentially a way for team members on a sort of smaller scale to organize and make decisions together, be it on asset transfers, programs, and tokens that we're going to talk in a bit. They're trustless in nature. They provide visibility and transparency for organizations, and they are a secure way for self-custody and co-ownership. And in many ways, multi-sigs are about co-ownership and usually multiple people coordinating, but sometimes for security purposes, an individual can have a multi-sig with just multiple keys to essentially have assets on chain, but not rely on a single wallet or not rely on a cold wallet. The application for multi-sigs at Squads, we kind of see them on 3 levels, which is treasury management, that's dealing with storing assets, diversifying them, doing payroll, doing program management. It's upgrading programs, potentially at some point deploying programs as well. Token management. It's essentially, if you're launching an NFT or doing an IDO with a fungible token, managing supply, controlling mint authority, those kind of things make sense to have with a multi-sig as well. Multi-sig users are, we identify them, at least at the moment, are teams building in Web3 and various types of DAOs. Protocol DAOs rely on usually all types of applications, meaning that they need to control the treasury, the programs, and the tokens through a multi-sig or through an on-chain relationship with a DAO. It's investment DAOs that usually rely on treasury management. It's service DAOs that rely on mostly treasury again, collector DAOs, and social DAOs and NFT communities. So multi-sig adoption, we are still early on Solana in general. In our experience, when we talk to different communities, it's still very early for them because they don't know that they need to use a multi-sig. A lot of the times they like to hold it in an individual wallet, they hold it in phantoms. And it's something that we've been trying to convey for the last few months after we launched, that this is essential, that if you have funds in an individual wallet, they're exposed to potential hacks. And so having it in a multi-sig is more secure, particularly if it's not only your funds, if it's community funds, it's really, really important. And so, yeah, in terms of multi-sig adoption, we're still early. Gnosis Safe on Ethereum is, at the current, in the current market is still at 35 billion custody, which is staggering. There are reasons for it. We can talk about them later. But yeah, it's quite early on Solana. Solana has a bunch of multi-sig solutions, so it's going to be interesting to see sort of how the ecosystem will move forward. But I think at this stage, we're kind of thinking of it from a perspective, as long as you use any multi-sig, we're all winning here. Okay. So in terms of multi-sigs in the context of DAOs, because this is what we're talking about here, it's kind of becoming now more apparent to many DAO operators and many DAO members that token voting that everybody come to be used to in the sort of last few years is sort of broken, right? It's the idea that it creates incentive misalignment, meaning that sort of whales can accumulate large amounts of voting power and essentially influence votes. There can be vote buying, sort of like, on Ethereum, it's been even like kind of codified in bribing, and you can actually do it in like a more transparent way, but still that's another byproduct of token voting. It's disorganization because it's a lot of people trying to organize to make even the little decisions, and sometimes it takes a while and can be heavy. And it's inefficiency, which is kind of the same thing. And we've seen that. I think even Mango had some of those experiences when Daffy's reimbursement was voted down 4 times as a meme, which was great. I'm not sure where I voted there, but yeah. Okay, so. And that's actually an example from this morning. The slide didn't exist last night. So Hasu just highlighted that one of the Ethereum gaming DAOs, they accepted investment from a VC, and then they decided that they don't want to work with them anymore, and so they just proposed in the forum to cancel the SAFT and just cancel the tokens. And sort of Hasu kind of highlights the idea that having sort of specialists and experts that are kind of there dealing with legal matters and having them in their own dedicated sub-DAOs is actually more efficient than people evaluating a proposal about just canceling someone's SAFT because they are, for whatever reason. And so that's kind of the movement we're generally seeing in a lot of the sort of in the Ethereum space, and I think Solana is kind of going in that direction as well. Yeah, so multisig is how DAOs scale. This is kind of our belief in squads. This is what we're trying to promote as much as possible, and the idea that you can sort of go from direct democracy to representative democracy. You can value people by their expertise, not about how much or how many tokens they own. It can be much more efficient because it allows you to sort of departmentalize. And again, this is not something that was invented in the Web3 space. Companies and traditional organizations have departments, have special areas where they have groups that are focused on specific areas of development for what the DAO needs, for what the company needs to do. And so in our minds, with the right checks and balances, which is the last bullet point there, that can really work within the DAO structure as well without really sacrificing any decentralization. And the way we kind of see it is that having a structure with multiple sub-DAOs and working groups, which are sort of centralized internally, but having an overarching community around them that manages, membership there and manages, who can be in which one, is essential to maintain decentralization. That's how it should be. And I think Solana is quite unique from that perspective because a lot of that stuff you can do on chain. And so this is kind of the vision we are working towards. And I think the last point there worth mentioning is that the real important aspect here as well is that it's more about how different members within the organization, within the DAO, can get into those sub-DAOs. And so it's kind of the DAO responsibility to provide the right funnels to allow those members through verifying some on-chain tasks or through going some kind of onboarding process that's not centralized, not reliant on core group making a decision, to actually be able to enter those gated Discord chats, multisigs, whatever it is. Okay. I think we're skipping slides as we had before. Yeah, so a little bit about Squad. So it's a collaboration infrastructure for Web3 native teams. That's what we kind of call it broadly. At the end of the day, though, it's a protocol for deployment of multi-signature wallets on Solana. We have over 2,300 squads deployed on mainnet in actually a little less than 3 months. Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. We're allowed to currently store various tokens and NFTs. You can do swaps directly from our interface that triggers a multi-sig transaction. You can earn a yield with Katana by depositing assets into various vaults that Katana offers, and we plan to integrate more treasure management providers as we progress. Yeah, and then there's a bunch of great integrations that with some awesome partners that we've done so far, which is Cardinal to linking for linking Twitter, sending assets to Bonafide domains, Dialect in-app notifications, as many of us have integrated already. And yeah, I mean, it's open source, audited by Neodime, and currently undergoing another audit just in case. Okay, yeah, program management. This is something that's coming in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. We've been asked a lot about this by sort of our current users, and it seems like it's kind of goes in line with our general vision of what multisig should be able to manage, which is sort of like we're covering treasury pretty well now, going into programs right now, and then thinking about tokens for the future. Yeah, and some more features that we're thinking about integrating. So it's like more DeFi integrations, transaction cost optimization. We don't collect any fees at the moment. It's all going to Solana, and we're kind of working on optimizing that cost to making it like as minimal as possible, which was a very unique experience. Like when we started building this, we used Gnosis before, and like paying $100 to deploy, and then $30 per transaction, sometimes $100 per transaction seemed excessive. And then when it was like $1 with us, and people started asking like, why is it so expensive? It took us a while to wrap our heads around that. Then there's legal wrappers for multisigs that we're thinking deeply about. Actually, we've done some good research work on that. And the idea is that basically, kind of like my vision for DAOs that I think we can talk more about in some panels moving forward, but is I don't really think that DAO as a whole needs a legal definition. I don't think it needs a legal structure. I think DAO should always be this kind of like a very wide organization that's hard to pinpoint, what it is exactly. And then its various sub-DAOs, be it multisigs, can tap into various jurisdictions in a sort of modular fashion around the world to leverage the right sort of regulatory framework for a specific purpose. And something that, some of the thinkers in the space have been talking about for a while is that you don't really need legal entities to exist forever, right? Like you can have them for a specific period of time, and then you can dissolve them as like they're no longer needed instead of maintaining them, for years. Because with, what we're doing here, the real base of operations and the real organization is not longer reliant on, being sort of verified by a government organization saying, this is a company that are shareholders. It can be much more fluid. And I think this is why we're really sort of interested and bullish on multisigs, is because they are actually a way that you can, in a modular way, leverage different jurisdictions around the world without really needing to kind of subject the whole organization to any legal framework. And then there was obviously like pros and cons to doing this. Token management is coming next. Starting with, I appreciate it. Hope to talk more. We're actually sitting right next to each other in the Hacker House. Actually, that's the end of the presentation, guys. I would love to just talk to Dean or answer some questions. Because I just wanted to, give you a rundown of where we are, where we're going.
Okay. So, what could people start building? What do you need help with? What are those things that, hey, they're on our backlog, but we're not going to get to them? Maybe somebody here could start building.
So I think there's actually one massive primitive that I think hasn't really been done really well yet, that I think can be done better. And it's like, I think, Sebastian and Iman think a lot about this as well, is like this whole on-chain identity, which is, I think, really important. And having a kind of a single layer for, people to kind of, to have it on Solana, so we can actually tap into that with squads and link certain, actions and things to your on-chain identity. That would be super helpful. I think we're thinking a lot about that now. Like sometimes it can be pretty minimal, but as you think about squads in the context of DAOs, I think that would be essential with like multiple roles and things that you can sort of divide the DAO into. So I think on-chain identity, we're thinking a lot about it, but definitely can't build it ourselves just because it's a huge thing. And then from like I think treasure management perspective, there's a lot of solutions out there that are being worked on. I think some are working on it right now. But I do think like we don't want to tap too much into that from like, we're kind of thinking about where we want to go with this, right? Like, so payroll, I think, should be done. I think payroll deserves a whole separate, product to deal with it, just because over time, and if you have a large enough organization, it gets really complex. So I think like having that done really well is super important as well.
So you don't know this.
Okay.
Oh, we're streaming. Okay. And you don't know this. I think you told me. When did this happen? Right now. So our DAO board has passed a bounty for somebody to work on an integration of squads directly onto the Grape dashboard. So 200,000 Grape. If somebody can set it up so that way you can log into your squads, because dude, I have like, I don't know, 15 different squads associated with the Grape DAO, and it's just, if it was all in one place. So if anybody's brave and wants something cool to work on that includes Grape and squads, we've got this bounty out. A little surprise for you.
Amazing, and it's just right for my talk. Was that timed specifically, or?
It's all serendipity, baby. It just happens. The ancient agora, we've got it right here.
Okay, magic of the Athens. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows what else will happen?
Okay, yeah, that's exciting. I mean, if nobody wants to do it, Bastian will do it because it sounds awesome. But I hope that someone in the room is ready to hack that together.
Right on. are there any other questions? I mean, we're going to be here for a while. We've actually been discussing how these conversations around what are the problems that we're solving, what are the problems that we are having are very valuable. So we're in the middle of discussing this. It's very fluid. Anybody in the Telegram, if you're part of a DAO that, you know, like we've talked about, the Monkey DAOs is here. I know the Surfer House one, Grape is here, Mango's here. If you're part of a DAO and we haven't, you know, you're not on one of the speaker panels, just share that in Telegram, because I think what we might do is have more of these discussions around what are the problems for DAOs, because then the builders, you know, you guys get to, you know, start having all these ideas and getting excited.
Yeah, man, that's what you managed to accomplish here. Like, it's the first day, but we're already talking and coming up with some cool stuff.
Right on. Again, thank you, Stepan. Thank again, Squads, for sponsoring. And yeah.
Thanks, man. That was great.